for having me.
Awesome.
Recording is
Sorry, I haven't gotten you your fabric yet, but we're doing that today. So here we go.
Yeah, I'll see you later on today.
Awesome. So I just wanted to do a. Ooh, can everyone hear me? Okay, I'm going to do just a quick intro and introduce us, and then we're going to get started. So we're going to actually ask everybody if you can, just to keep our videos strong, because we're on like a bandwidth situation. Everyone just mute yourself and mute your video, and then we'll have time for questions. Like after each of us do our tutorial, we'll give you guys time for questions. So I'll just introduce myself. My name is Rebecca. I'm an artist. I'm reporting here from Palolo Valley in the Ahupua of Waikiki. And I'm helping with Coronacare's production of protective masks and organizing different sewers all over to donate materials, cut the materials, and sew the materials into masks. So today, Tori and I are going to be giving you guys a quick just kind of run through of what our patterns are like. She has a kind of more basic, faster pattern that you guys, I think if you're sort of like a novice sewer, I think that's the best place to start. That's where I started. And then this other pattern that I'll show you guys is a little bit more complicated. There's a couple more parts to it maybe, but it's actually pretty quick once you get a good flow. And I think the best part about having a tutorial is like just seeing it happen and kind of eliminating the fear of like, oh, well, I just don't know how to do these certain things. And if you guys have questions about how your machine is working and stuff, I think Tori and I can try to troubleshoot. I'm definitely not an expert sewer. I'm like very, very basic and I'm a little sloppy. So I'm going to try to just show you guys like what I know. But I'm going to pass the mic off to Tori and she's going to start off with our first pattern. So go ahead, Tori. And I'll just also say Jack is our tech guy. He's, if you guys have any questions, just there's a little chat box in the corner. He's going to be posting our patterns and any other info for you guys. So if you have questions or you're like, oh, this isn't working, like just send a message to him in the chat room. So thanks for coming, everybody. Go ahead, Tori.
Hi, you guys. I'm Tori. I am coming from the Ahupua, I think also of Waikiki. I work for the government, and then I also work at Kapilani Medical Center in their oncology department, so I've been doing that part-time as well. So I will get started. So the mask that I've been making is from this company called State the Label, and the link is in the chat box. I've modified it a tiny bit because the people that I've spoken to don't really need the liner in it, and so I've just like taken the liner and turned it into like the entire mask. I don't know if that makes sense. So what I did basically is on the website, I've just taken the pattern and I've taken the pattern and just put it onto a vellum sheet of paper, and so then that way I don't like ruin my original pattern all the time. So anyway, on the pattern, it says to cut a main fabric and then a lining fabric, and it has the sizes for both of those, but I just cut the main fabric and the lining fabric to be the exact same size. So
Tori, I don't want to interrupt you. Sorry. I just want to, can you double check your phone to make sure that it's muted? Sorry.
Nope, you're fine.
Yeah, just want to make sure everyone can hear you. Okay. Thank you. And for anyone else who just joined, please stay on the line and listen. And please turn off your cameras just for now until Tori's done with her tutorial, and then we can have you guys do questions at the end. Okay, thanks, Tori.
Is that better?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Yeah, my phone speaker will not let me turn it all the way down, so, but I think I fixed it. Okay, so I cut out my two patterns already. So I have, this is my main fabric, and then it's just like a floral pattern. And then I also have my lining fabric. And again, they are the same size. And so the first thing that I will have everyone do is you're going to pin the fabric with the right sides together. And for those of you that don't know, the right side is the side with like the pretty pattern on it. And then the wrong side is the side that does not have the pretty pattern on it, I guess. Rebecca, do you have a better way of explaining that at all?
Yeah, it's funny in the patterns they always say the right and the wrong, and it's kind of almost you're going by like what's lighter or darker. Like to me, it's also like which side do you want to be facing out? Because sometimes you'll flip the fabric and it just looks better inside out. But if you end up with it inside out and you want it right side, like outside in, I guess you have to really think kind of backwards a little bit. So yeah, just try to make sure when you're setting it up that the part that you want to face out is going to be facing each other, because you're going to be flipping it inside out.
Thank you. That was very well put. Okay, so now I am going to, flip this around. And can you guys see that okay? And then, so you're just going to do a stitch along this pinned edge. Sorry, I didn't actually explain where you should be pinning the thing. Hold on, sorry, let me turn this back around. Okay, so you are going to pin the mask along the edge, or along the curved edge. And so that is the part that's going to be up against your nose. And so go ahead and pin that, and then you're going to pin it on both of them. So right sides together, and then pin it along the curved edge. And then I'm just going to make a single stitch along that entire pinned edge. Okay. So go ahead and do that real quick. Oh boy. Sorry, guys. I was just talking to my husband about how doing live tutorials is something is always bound to go wrong. And then I usually just do about like a 1/4 stitch. And then you're going to do that for both of the masks, or both of the sides of the fabric. Okay, so once you've done that, then just so that you can create a little bit more of a shape on the mask, you're going to snip the fabric. And so, sorry. So what you're going to do is, I have it upright, and then you are just going to snip the fabric on an upward angle. And then this will just give the mask a little bit more shape when you actually put it on your face. Some people actually do notches, so they'll cut out a triangle like this. I haven't really found, sorry, can you see that? I haven't really found that necessary, and it takes a lot longer to do. So I don't do it. And then just be careful not to snip through the fabric. And then also take the pins out. Okay, so then the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to turn one of the pieces of fabric so it's right side out. So now you have this nice line. Can you guys see that okay? So now it's got this nice line on it. And so you're going to turn it right side out, and then you're going to put the right sides together. So what I mean by that is, so this one, so the lining fabric will be on the side that's just been stitched, so it has those notches. And then you're going to place the right side of the main fabric into the lining fabric so that the right sides are together. So basically both of like the snipped edges are going to be facing out. And so then you'll put those together and then you're going to pin those. And so I will be very quick pinning these. And I think basically like what I think is the most important part about pinning this is just making sure that the two seams are together when you pin them. The rest of it will kind of just like fall into place, but just make sure that the two seams right here are together, just so it's not crooked. Okay, and then I will sew that real quick. And then you're going to sew along the bottom edge of the mask and then along the top edge of the mask. And this part does not have to look perfect because we're going to be turning it inside out. So, oops. Oh my heck. Sorry, guys. My machine came unthreaded.
Classic sewing moment. So if you guys aren't familiar with the machine that you're working with, there's a ton of YouTube tutorials. Sometimes, like I'm borrowing a machine from school right now, so sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. There's like this tension problem, or I don't know, it just keeps doing certain thing. And yeah, I'll either just check YouTube or whatever for a solution.
That's really cool they let you borrow the machine from school.
Yeah, there's actually, and if anyone on this call needs a machine to borrow, we do have a couple others. So just put a message in the chat and we can get in touch and get you a machine.
Okay, so, and then I don't know, I don't think I mentioned you guys, this mask is made with elastics. That's how I've been doing it. I haven't had any experience with using like the bias tape, so I'm excited for the next tutorial. But this one is using elastics, and I've been finding them easily on eBay. I don't know if anyone's having a hard time finding elastic, but okay, so sorry. So now I sewed the top and the bottom, and then you're going to just turn the mask. I guess it's right side out now. And so now you have your almost completed mask. And so, sorry, I'll scoop this back. So now I've turned it right side out, and then this is what it's going to look like. And so the next thing that I do is now you're going to, so in the pattern that I posted, there will be a lining fabric where you can slip a filter in. But since I didn't do that, what I like to do is, so at this point, you can either roll this and then sew up the edge of it, and then you can slide your elastic through. What I do, just because I think it looks nicer, is I actually like will fold these edges in and then measure out my elastic so that like the elastic can't come untied, so it's actually sewed into the mask, but it's definitely up to you what you want to do. I'll show you what I do. So what I do is you're going to fold in these edges, and you're basically just going to fold them in back into the mask. And so then you'll have like a clean edge. Can you guys see that, Rebecca? Does that like look okay?
Can you turn it like a little bit to the side so you can get a little bit more? Yeah, there you go. Or like, there you go, like that. So you can
Okay.
just, yeah, that's a little bit better.
Yeah. Let me show you one more time. Okay, so you've got the like rough looking edges that are poking out. And then I just fold them in like, oh my gosh, like this. So then it creates like a nice looking edge, and then those folded edges are on the inside so you don't see them, which I like. And I just think that that's like a little bit easier. I don't know if it makes it harder when you do the actual elastic, but I haven't really had a problem with it. And I usually just fold it in about a 1/2 inch. And then that still makes the mask pretty large so that it like goes all the way to your ears. And so then I do that on both sides. So you're gonna fold it in. And then I just pin it in the middle. And so then from there, I cut my elastic. And I usually cut my elastic to be about 5.5 inches long. And I do have a women and a men's size. And so I found that this is a pretty standard size for women's faces. And then I can also put the men's size up. I had to like create it on my own. But so I have my elastic, it's 5.5 inches long. And then I do little markers on each of the ends that are about a 1/2 inch long as well. And then that's just where I stick it into the mask. And so then you just stick those edges into the mask, and then I pinned them. And then when you sew this on the machine, I usually just do a back stitch on the elastic so that it is more secure. So it doesn't just rip out when you try to put it on. And so I just have my little marker, and then I just put it into the mask and line it up at the edge and then pin it. And then at this point, I usually go around and pin around the mask because I do like to do a stitch all the way around the mask. I also think it looks nicer. You definitely don't have to do that. I think it does add a tiny bit of structure. I won't do that for the sake of time. But what I usually do is go all the way around the mask and just make a stitch. Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and while you're just doing the elastic, Tori, just see if anyone has any questions.
Yes.
So if you have a question, feel free to ask right now. I have a question. Do you wash your fabric before you sew?
I do. Yeah, thank you for that. I do. I usually wash it and iron it. I read to do that, and so I have used fabric though that I have not. Like when I first started, I didn't realize that was something that you were supposed to do, and so and like I have used it since and washed it, and it's turned out fine. But just to err on the side of caution, I do wash it and iron it. And I also read that you should be using the same fabric for using the same type of fabric, like cotton, for your lining fabric and like for both sides of your mask. Because if you do put them in the washer and the dryer, then they shrink differently. if they're not this. Okay.
Awesome.
So I just went down this edge and then just did a back stitch where the elastic is, just so that it is a little bit stronger. And that is it. And then you can just put on your.
Yay!
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for watching.
Great job.
Yeah, I will turn it over to you.
Cool. Thank you. Does anyone else, we have a couple more minutes. I just want to see if anyone else at all has any questions for Tori about her mask and what she does or anything that she did just now. And you can feel free to unmute yourself or you could type it in the chat. And if there's no questions, then I'll keep going.
Okay.
Anybody? Bueller? Okay. All right, then I'll keep going. So I'm going to flip. Thank you, Tori. Round of applause. There's no applause button. Oh.
Is there an applause? There's a hand raising button. But.
Yeah. Bravo. Okay, hold on. I'm going to switch to mine. How do I get myself here? There we go. All right. Can you guys hear me okay? I was just working on other little stuff before Tori was going. So, okay. How's everybody doing? I'm going to show you guys how to make a pleated mask. And I actually haven't even finished one yet, but we're going to finish one together. So I wanted to give you guys like an example. But basically what you're going to do, and all of the dimensions, again, are in the document that's posted. And oh yeah, we're saving this video and recording so you guys can go back to it. So you're basically going to start with a rectangle piece like this. We are going to be sewing some for kids. So this dimension is the adult version. It's 15 by 8 inches. And then the one that's for kids is actually 7 by 10. And we just got a request for I think 50 kid size masks for some unsheltered folks here on Oahu. So if anyone's interested in sewing for kids, that's a whole specific section that it's the same process. So if you're going to sew for an adult or a kid, you just have a different dimension of your rectangle. So the first thing you're going to start off with is just folding your rectangle in half. So you're going to have like more of the square shape like this. And that, again, that's like the right side inwards. So the lighter color is going to be on the outside, and you're just going to iron that flat. There's a couple other tools that you guys should also have, one of which I like to have a seam ripper on hand in case I mess anything up. I have my scissors. I have it could just be a colored pencil or a regular pencil, but I use like a wax China marker. I think Tori has like fabric pencils that she uses to mark areas. And then I also like to have some little baby binder clips, or you could use pins too, but the binder clip I just find is a little bit faster. And then I have the little measuring tape. I feel like I'm at the point where I'm not measuring as much anymore. I'm just kind of like going off my eye. But to start with, so you're going to have that rectangle, yeah. And you're basically going to measure 2 inches in from the top open part. So you have the open flap at the top. You're going to go about 1/2 inch down. I just kind of use the width of the measuring tape and go 1/2 inch down. And I'm going to make a mark on my fabric 2 inches in on both sides. So at the 6 mark and at the 2 inch mark, I'm basically going to make 2 points. So I made a point there and I made a point there. And what I'm going to do from there is basically sew. I'm going to move to the sewing machine. So I'm going to sew the top flap of my rectangle, but leave an empty space in the middle, because that's the part where you're going to be able to put in a filter. You don't have to do this part. Like if you wanted to just sew straight across, you could. But because this is a pattern that we've been using for medical donations, we're going to try to keep the same standard. So I'm just going to pop it in my machine, go straight. I'm going to stop at the dot and I'm going to back stitch just so that's kind of like sealed. I'm going to lift my needle back up. I usually just pull it straight across and go to the other dot, close it, forward a little bit, back stitch, and then go straight. So I'm trying to basically create, I'll show you guys in a second. I always try to take off all the little bits of string and stuff, but I'm basically trying to make like a rectangle that has these kind of stitches. I'm using a zigzag, but you can use a straight stitch, but I find that going on when I'm doing the straps, the zigzag is going to be better. So I just keep it zigzag the whole time. So we have that rectangle. Yeah. So now what you're going to do is flip the whole thing inside out. So again, like this one takes a little bit more time, but honestly, if you're just, what I like to do is like sew like 20 rectangles and just make a pile. And then also like a ton of, or I'll iron out a ton of straps. So then I can just have a day where I just assemble and sew the edges and then I'm good. So it's not like I'm just doing one. I don't do one whole mask at a time. I'll make like a pile and just go through. So I flip the whole thing inside out. Yeah. And your pocket hole, you guys see this? Your pocket hole is going to be at the top, but you don't want that you don't want it to be exactly at the top. You're going to shift the seam down like about 1/2 inch. So you're going to shift it down so the pocket's like this, yeah? And then you're going to iron that flat. So, and all of these instructions are in the document that we posted. I think Jack also reposted it too. So you're basically just going to make that iron pocket flat. So it's like this, yeah. Then once you have that rectangle, you're going to fold that in half and just make the seam, just make it flat. I have my iron on the cotton setting, and I also have it on steam. So I'll give it a little steam every once in a while because it just makes it a little faster and hotter. So I folded that in half and I made one fold. Then I'm going to fold that half in half and the other half in half. So like if you guys can see that, it's like a little sandwich. So I have like that in half and that in half, and then I'm going to iron across there. So you're basically making, I think they call it valley folds. So it's like a valley, like if you do origami or anything like that, you're basically making 1, 2, 3 valley folds in your square. So that meant like, again, I folded it in half and then I folded it in half and like this, and then I ironed that flat. Okay, so everyone following, I'm sorry if I'm going too fast, but this is the point where we're at right now. So then you have your valley folds on the side of your pocket seam. You're going to flip it over. So you're going to be working with the mountain side of that fold facing upwards. So that pocket seam is going to be facing down. And these are your pleats. So I'm going to see if I can give you guys a better angle of this. But what I'm basically doing is like pinching here and bringing this down and keeping it flat. And then I'm going to iron right there. So I'm going to do that 1, 2, 3 times so I can kind of get those couple of pleats in there. Yeah. Okay, so the thing with this part is I try to have the straps ready before I get to this part, because once I'm steaming the pleats or, getting the pleats in, I don't want it to like unfold itself too much. So you could like at this point just wait. And I have a couple other ones here that are just waiting, but sometimes it's best to have a whole stack of your rectangles and then do the folding process as the last thing that you do. But this is the main part of the mask. So right now it looks like this. Looks really nice. And it has that seam opening in the back. So you're going to have like this 3 pleat thing. Yeah. Then this is like the really fancy part. We have these strips of fabric that are going to be, I think it's a 1.5 inch piece by 36 inches. So this is going to be like a bias tape, which if some of you guys notice, sometimes like on a clothing, you'll have like an edge of a clothing that has like a seam that's like, or a piece of fabric that's like wrapped around it and then sewn. It's like kind of an edging technique. So this is what we're going to be using. Again, all of these are things, the reason that this is this complicated or that there are this many steps is because if you're going to be washing these on a high industrial machine or dryer, that we want everything to be as like tight and solid as possible. So yeah, so you have your 36 inch strip, 1.5 inches, And I will also plug that we have a ton of fabric donations and we need people to just cut material. So if you're feeling like this is too much for you, you can just cut. We can get you some fabric, you can cut it, and then you can pass it on to another sewer who can do the sewing. And we also have this really cool little thing that someone has been 3D printing us. So this is like, it's called a bias tape jig. So it looks like a little piece of pink plastic that's been 3D cut. You can kind of see there's like a hole here. So basically what this is going to do is feed your strip into here. Hope you guys can see this okay. It's kind of tiny. So you're going to feed the strip basically, yeah, like into there. And I've been using, where did it go? I've been using my seam ripper to kind of just like poke it through. And we're having someone print more of these for us because we have more people who want to sew. So if this is something that you're interested in and you want to like make a bunch of bias tape, even if you want to just only produce straps, that would be awesome. So basically what this is doing is feeding the flat strip of fabric into a nicely folded, can you guys see that? Like flat piece. So then the lighting is so bad, sorry guys. But yeah, it flattens it out like this. And then what you're just basically do is just iron it and then just move along like that. So I hope you guys can see that okay. But I'm basically just following the jig and creating like a flat bias tape. And so that one, I just made a couple here so I don't have to do the whole thing. You're going to end up with a piece that looks like this. So it's full, this one's not like perfect, but you could tell like this is a bad example because I didn't do that one all the way. But like this one, you can tell that it's like, it's going to be ready to be folded over the edge. Okay, so we're at that point where we have our mask that's done. Hold on, I'm going to finish this one. And you should have 2 strips at least that are ready to go. But you could also, like, I had a pile of like 100 of them just sitting here. This is like, I just like to talk to people on the phone and do this. So I'm going to do that really quick. Feel free to throw some questions in the Q&A chat box if you need. Okay. So there's my second bias tape. So this part, like, I'm not really a measurer necessarily. So what I'll end up doing is taking the 2 to the top and just kind of measuring out like maybe the width of my mask is like maybe, I don't know, a couple of inches. So I just make sure that I'm going to be placing the mask down about the center of these strips. So I'll kind of like eyeball that out and then just place the edge of my mask right in the middle, like right in the middle. I'll show you guys this of the bias tape. Yeah. So then from there, you're literally just going to fold it over the edge. I would also make sure that your mask doesn't have too many like split end fuzzy stuff. So sometimes I'll just trim it. Like if you're ripping the fabric like this, sometimes they'll give it more fringe. So I would just, trim that up. This one's not that bad. But I basically just fold this over, trying to make it as even as possible. Like you want the seam or you want the tape to like connect like this. You don't want it to be like this or like this or like that because it's not going to seal that edge perfectly. So I'll just do that. And if I have pins, I have pins. I'm just going to use 1 binder clip. You could use 2. I used 2 for a while, but then I would run out faster. So here's an extra thread. Same thing on this one. Wait, where's the one that's done? I just kind of double it up. See how it fits at the bottom here. Right about there. And then just pop that in there. Fold it. And then pin it. So that process, like, I'm not sure how long it really takes me to do that whole process. But again, if you're just making a bunch at a time, that I personally suggest that you just go with that. So we have like, what's the basis of our mask? Yeah, this is like super 80s. Sorry. This is the fabric that I got donated. It's like so pastel 80s, but that's cool. So now I'll show you guys just really quick how to sew the edges. I'm gonna go over to the machine right here. So the first thing, I want to shout out Giovanna Sullivan for showing me this trick, because she didn't even show me. She just donated some masks, and they were sewn like this, because I was really just originally just like folding over the edge here and starting my bias tape, like sewing it like up like that. But when I looked at her masks, she's a really good sewer. She had like folded this top over and then folded in half the tape. So you're getting a cleaner edge. So I've been doing that. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to pop it in. Sometimes it has a little trouble going back and forth because that it can be thick. The fabric can be thick right there. So I'm going to give it a forward. I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to go forward again. That just basically locks it. Yeah, like it's getting a little bit jammed, but I'll just go. You can always lift back up. And then I'm just going to sew straight up to the top. So here we go. Oh, just kidding, because it's totally stuck. Hold on. So when you sew like too much, it's going to like look like that. So we don't really want that. I'm just going to leave it for now and just keep going. But you're basically trying to get a cleaner stitch than this. But for now, I'm just going to go on with it and go back later. I think the most, what's the word? The thing that really makes you frustrated is when the machine's not working. So sometimes if I'm like, I just can't handle working with a machine and I just don't want to frustrate myself, I'll just go back to cutting and ironing and just put my energy into that, because sometimes it can be really frustrating. And I think that's the like number one reason why people don't want to sew. So sometimes it's just better to just walk away. So I'm just gonna go straight down the middle. Oh shit. Like this is a perfect example. Like Tori was like, of course there's gonna be some fucking emergency. Like this, where it totally sewed back in on itself. All right, hold on, people. Frick. What the fuck did I do here? All right, hold on. This is when your seam ripper comes quite in handy.
Rebecca, they say that if it's late at night and you mess up 3 times, you have to stop.
You just have to stop. For real.
It's
you
like
get to that moment where you're just like, all right, just fucking walk away.
Yeah, psychologically, you like it's like 2 a.m. and
yeah, because
terrible
that's
things
I
keep happening.
to sew at that time too, and it's kind of it's been loud, so I've been trying to be like, all right, I've been that's why I'm like, if I can fold everything at night and like do all of my ironing and stuff at night, then I could sew during the day and it's a little bit better. Anyways, so that was crazy, but we're going back to the freaking area. Let's just keep going. And then my machine comes unthreaded. So this is what we're dealing with here, people. Hours and hours.
Live demonstrations are.
Don't be deterred. Don't be deterred. It's not always like this. It really isn't. And I think once you get a good flow, it's really fun, and it's really not that hard. Hold on. And if you have bad eyes, it's worse. All right, here we go. I will say I also keep like a scrap on hand that just has like tests. So like if I'm like, oh shit, that didn't work. Why didn't that work? I'll just slip in the scrap and just test on that before I keep going on my regular piece. But this should be good. All right. So then when I'm coming up to the mask part, I just want to really double check to make sure that the edges are all stuck in there, that the fold is good, that the pleats aren't coming out like they are on this side. That's why it's kind of better to use 2 binder clips or pins, because it's kind of like keeping the whole thing together a little bit better. But just make sure that, you know, when you get to that point, you're not gonna screw it up, because this is the part that you want to stay together. Yeah, so okay, I'm coming up to that point. I'm just gonna unclip the binder. I'm gonna hold the bias tape down with my fingers. I know you guys probably can't see this very well here. Can you do this? Is that, I don't know if you can even see that. I'm gonna go from the side. Hey. Okay, let's try it. Except my phone's gonna be in the way. Sorry guys. Just gonna try this. I'm gonna go straight over. Yeah, and actually I've been occasionally, this one's actually pretty good, so I won't, you know what, I'm just gonna show you guys just anyways. I've been flipping back around. Move this out of the way. I've been flipping back around. I'm gonna bring this needle back out, and then doubling up the seam just cause, and going over into the area that has the pleats. So like, maybe that doesn't look as pretty, but it's definitely gonna hold it together better, especially some of the fabric that has like more of a fray on the edge. I'm like scared sometimes that they're gonna come apart. So I just go back and then I come back again. I could stop there and start again here, but I honestly just think when you're sewing and you're going kind of fast, it's a little bit easier to just keep going. So I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna move the camera because it's a little easier. So I'm just kind of like guiding the strip and just letting it flow through my fingers. Right as you're coming up to the end here, you're going to do that same, fold that little edge under and fold it in half. And that's it. Okay. So, whoops, except that I ran out of, this is so classic, Tori. I ran out of bobbin, which I knew was going to happen. I ran out of bobbin, and this is going to happen to you guys. I might as well just take a moment if you don't know how to thread your bobbin or to load your bobbin. I've been just keeping a bunch preloaded on hand. So let's stick that here in the side and just pop it back in so I can finish this. But like, this is actually kind of good that all these things are happening, because it just kind of shows you the little steps and troubleshooting kind of things that you have to deal with when this is going on. But yeah, so like I didn't get to finish this because the bobbin, which is that thread that's underneath, finished. So I'm just going to pop it back in. I reloaded my bobbin and I'm going to finish this. Yikes. And again, fold that little tiny bit over at the end so you have like a kind of cleaner end of your seam. And boom. So I love this little, that's my favorite tool on the machine. So I'm going to see what time it is. Oh, we have a little bit more time, but I wanted to leave it open for Q&A, but that was basically that one side of the, well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just finish it because we have a couple more minutes. But yeah, if anyone has questions, like go ahead and shoot them now. And that's for me or Tori. Or have you guys already started sewing? Like, what do you guys need? Looks like someone said, is there a cache of elastic? So some people do have, we were talking about potentially getting elastic for Coronacare sewers because people have been making donations. I know that I personally received some donations of elastic. So if people need elastic, they can just ask one of us. I think that, yeah, I'm going to double check. I know someone in Manoa has elastic cat. So if you need elastic, we can probably get you some. And also, I think the fabric stores are open for like, Tori, do you know what's the status? I think they're doing like 2 hour, they're doing certain windows, and I think you have to make an appointment.
Yeah, so I can only speak to Fabric Mart, which is on Kalakaua, and I made an appointment last week for April 30th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's pretty far Jack. And I bike and I can't tell if, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lisa.
No, go.
And I can't tell if they're actually just like letting people in, but it does seem pretty strict. Like you have to go in, sign in, then wait in your car. So
yeah, they have a system.
Yeah. But I would say definitely call.
Yeah. And I think Kaimuki Dry Goods also, Giovanna went there the other day and there was like a line of 12 people there before they were even open.
Okay.
So I think that elastic is something that's harder to come by, but we're definitely getting donations and people are, like Tori said, eBay is awesome. I mean, Craigslist probably is already tapped out, but Facebook Market too. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that people are sharing it. And if you guys haven't already, there are a bunch of mask maker groups on Facebook, and I've seen a lot of people selling or posting elastic for donation and stuff on there too. So I'm gonna go back on the machine just for a minute just to finish this up. And again, like this seems more daunting than it really is, but honestly, like once you get a flow of making your straps and making the mask part, it's really not that big of a deal. It's just a different style, and this style, depending on where the donations are going. I will also say we have a whole sort of network of people who are sewing and contacting us for donations. So if you know anyone who needs a donation, you can just let us know and we can add them to the spreadsheet, the long spreadsheet. But currently we have, like, just in the past 2 days, I've had requests from the birth workers, Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies. They need 100 masks to go to midwives and doulas and stuff all across the state. We've had like 6 different like unsheltered or houseless folks, 6 different orgs that work with them have reached out and they need masks. We're doing a big, like, trying to get more than 300 masks to the Halava prisoners and employees of that prison. So yeah, we definitely still need a lot more. So I'm just gonna go do the mask part. And then I'm gonna flip it back around. Why am I jamming? I did something. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but sometimes I just cut it. Then I'm gonna start going the other way. It's easier. Back, switch it for a sec. I try to be as neat as I can, but sometimes it's just, you gotta do. I think a lot of people are like, what am I gonna do with this mask afterwards? Or I don't know, just kind of like having like, well, I don't need to wear a mask kind of situation. But honestly, like, my chiropractor told me that everyone should wear a mask on the airplane, not to protect themselves from germs necessarily, but just to keep your the moisture of your respiratory system like contained while you're flying, because the air dries out your system. And so once your I guess, how do I describe this? Once your mucus in your nose lining is all dried up and your throat gets all dry, that's like the first defense system for your immune system, like the mucus and stuff is like trapping the gunk. So if you're wearing a mask, you're just keeping your whole system I guess strong, in the sense that it's wet. And clearly in this situation, the transference is also through that material. So you're also protecting other people from receiving that mucus and sneezing. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. The hell do I know? Done. Okay, so here we go. Nice Laura Ashley style 1980s mask. And then, so this is like basically like a surgical kind of style mask, if you guys can see it.
It looks so good.
It's really nice. And
then you can put the filter in.
yes. Okay. So the filter goes in at the top, should be, yeah, or top or bottom, whatever you consider that part. But the filter is right here. And filters, I mean, there's all kind of different stuff people have been saying you can use as filters. Like you could use, like I heard you could use coffee filters. I heard you could use those blue shop towels, like the, you know, like the blue paper towel things. Like I heard you put that in there. I don't know. What have you heard, Tori? Because yours has a filter too.
Yeah, it does. One of them does. A lot of people at the hospital have been using coffee filters.
Yeah, that's
that's like the main one that I've heard, and that like it's like something you can still get. I read something on the New York Times that people have been using like vacuum filters, but they like don't use those. They like have chemicals in them, so don't do that. But yeah, it's mainly been coffee filters, and then I think on some websites now you can buy. They're like actual like little slip-in filters that like process smaller particles.
Yeah, you can even buy fabric. My partner bought some fabric that's like micron filter. So it's like a thick kind of a felt. And you can you just cut that into like a smaller strip. It comes on like a big, like a kind of big roll of it. And you can cut that into smaller pieces and pop that in there. I mean, I think they use that for different industrial capacity kind of stuff, like as a filter for different kind of stuff. But yeah, so and then I'll just go back through and just make sure that everything's like kind of nice-ish looking. And then what you can do too afterwards is you can throw it in the wash and wash them all. I don't know if you do this, Tori. I've been drying mine to avoid like over washing it and washing it and washing it because I just washed the fabric. But I think if you just pop them all in the dryer, at least it's giving it like the disinfectant kind of thing. And then I'll just throw them into a bag, like a Ziploc baggie, like a pile, like I'll stack them all up and I'll just throw them in a Ziploc baggie for the donation. And like, I'll show you guys, like I have, like I did this last night, but I basically just made like a pile of ones that are already folded and stacked and pinned. So then today I can just sew. So that's like kind of been my method. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I can probably fold like 10 or so, like in an hour, maybe. Like, I don't know. It's really hard. I haven't been like timing myself or anything like that. But yeah, someone says, is there fabric that's recommended? Yeah, I would definitely say 100% cotton is the best that I've heard that's been recommended. Is that what you're hearing too, Tori?
Yeah, it's like tightly woven cotton, and they said that a good indicator is to like hold it up against light. And if you can see too much coming through, then it's like not as good. I think that like, but doubling it up though is
doubling it should take care of it. I mean like this one, for example, I can't see, it's pretty opaque, like I can't really see through it at all. And this is like an old pillowcase, so someone literally just dropped off a pile of old pillowcases, old sheets, and I've been using all old bed sheets mostly. I'll show you guys this because it's just cute, but someone dropped off this like really cute Dr. Seuss fabric. Oh, so cute, like vintage Dr. Seuss. So I did a bunch of those. And then also, I mean, some of them are just beige, and you know what? That's okay too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have like 3 more minutes. So I want to just open up, if you guys want to unmute yourselves and say any comments or any, if you have any shout outs you need to make, I would definitely just say, we definitely need more sewers, no matter what kind of mask you're sewing. If you're gonna do like a nurse donation or a donation to medical, I would recommend that you do the one that I was doing. If you're just trying to give it to like Kapuna in your neighborhood who are just like trying to take a walk, like I think the one with the elastic is better because it's not for long-term wear. It's more like you pop it on, you pop it off. But this one is more for like people who are like we have a friend who we just ran into at Costco who's been working like over 40 hours a week at Costco, and he's like, the elastic's killing me, you know. Yeah. So it's up to you guys, but
if you guys are looking for fab or for elastic, I know someone that is selling it for $10 for 30 yards or $8 for 25. It's the 1/8 inch fab or elastic, and it's white.
Cool.
So if anyone needs that, please.
Yeah, you guys can just send us a quick. I'm gonna put our email address in here again too, if anyone wants to send an email. Yeah, does anyone want to shout out? You can turn your video or your whatever your mic back on if you want to say anything, but otherwise, yeah, that was really fun. Hope you guys could hear and the audio and everything was okay. I think. Thanks. I want to say thank you to Jack for doing our tech support and chat meter. Kat says, which masks are needed more? Okay, it's really hard to say because it's like I think the hospitals still have need. Personally, I would say just in terms of speed and getting them out to people, the first one that Tori was doing is ideal. But because of the elastic situation, it's like a trade-off, right? It's like the first one you can do way faster, you can produce way more, but then it's like we don't have enough elastic, so how do we troubleshoot that? The second one takes a little bit longer, but it lasts longer. You don't need the elastic. It's purely donated materials. You don't have to buy. I will also say if you're donating to hospitals, they only use new materials. They won't take donations from old bed sheets and stuff like that. So for us, like I'm personally concentrating on sewing for the prison. I prefer to use the surgical version, and it's like gonna last a little bit longer and people are gonna be wearing it all the time, especially the employees who are, the people who are like potentially bringing that into the prison space. So I think, it's like if you have the time and you have the patience and you have the skill and you want to commit to making the pleated one, I personally think that that's like the quote unquote better one. But at the same time, if there's elastic and you can make 100 of those and we can have them out tomorrow, I don't know, Tori, do you have like input on that? It's hard to say.
I don't know. Yeah, it is just as far as like which ones are better. So I have heard a lot at the hospital, like people are so at Kapi'olani, where like in the department I'm working in, everyone has to wear like a surgical mask unless it is unless they're like if you're leaving or coming from the hospital and you're not working, you have to wear a cloth mask. And then otherwise they have the like hospital masks. So like they are providing masks for the employees. So I would say that like to get them out, it is better to like I would say the elastic one, but then like, it really does wear down your ears after a while. And so having the one that can tie around your head, yeah, I don't think there's actually like a really
It's kind of like whatever you can do and you feel comfortable doing, just do that. Because I feel like the one I started with the one that Tori was doing, and I was like, yes, I can do so many of these. Like you can just whip them out. And so I gave them to a lot of people I knew, and I just kind of shared them around the neighborhood or whatever. And then I was like, oh shit, actually this pattern isn't that hard. But it really took me like 2 weeks to be like, okay, I'm gonna actually try to do this, because I was like really intimidated by the pattern, just like walking through it. I was like, do I really know how to do this? Like there was some vocabulary there that I was like, what does that mean, and then I was like, actually this is really fucking easy. Like it's really not that hard. Like you fold it, you sew the line, you undo it, you fold it, and you pleat it, and you're done. So like I think once you get that flow, someone said find which one you enjoy making and go with it. Yes. Yeah. I definitely think that's right. And then Kat says, production-wise, it seems to make sense to have people making parts. Yeah, yes. So Kat, if you want to, like, if we can get you the jig and you just want to like flat iron a fuckload of the strips, like if anyone on that call wants to do that, thank you. And then just pass it off to one of us or pass it off to, okay, great. Kat got a jig this morning. So that's fantastic. Like if you can just start prepping these kind of materials, and then just like drop it back in the cooler. We have this whole drop off pickup system with a cooler in Manoa, and we're probably going to have another one soon. So like if you, yeah, another thing people are doing too is like just cutting fabric. So I picked this up. It's just a bundle of strips that someone made. So if you want to just cut a bunch of strips one day while you're watching TV, like do that. Someone else can pick it up and fold it. You know, like there's a whole, if you don't want to do the whole process yourself, you don't have to.
Also, I would say, I don't know what tools people have, and maybe like it is too hard to be buying one, but like I got this cutter for my
Yes,
birthday,
rotary cutter.
and like it just changes your
Yes, Giovanna let me borrow this, but I think that's a great tool to have in your toolkit too. It's just like a really quick, instead of scissors, just
yeah.
So, it's
a rotary cutter, everyone.
Rotary cutter. It's 10:04, so I just want to respect our time. But if anyone else has questions or comments, or if you just want to pop on and say thank you or whatever, you can do that right now, and then we're gonna go. Cody says, thank you, made it less scary. Yes, I agree. I feel like I was very terrified. I was like, can I do this? Kat says, thanks. Thanks you guys so much for coming. Really, really. Jess says, thank you. Need to get that jig. Yes, we will get you the jig. I think I have one for you, Jess, actually. Amanda, yes. Cody. Oh, good. I'm so glad you all came. This is fantastic. Mahalo. Okay. Thank you, Tori.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yep, you guys are fantastic.
Corey, you're a nurse. Or Corey, not Corey. Cody. Tori. I'm mixing. It's
okay. It's been a big morning. I am not a nurse. No, I actually work for the Department of Education, and then I'm a tutor in the oncology department. So I work with the kids. It's great.
Awesome. Well, let us know what you need too.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, you guys. And thank you all for coming. This was great.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you, Jack, for doing our recording. And we're going to post it if anyone needs to look back or share it with anyone. So, yeah. Also, just want to remind everyone that we are going to be doing more painting stuff like this. So if you guys want to share any of the Instagram stuff, please help us promote it. And also we are soliciting more donations of material. So if you know anyone else who wants to donate material, please let us know. Okay, that's all. Mwah.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.